ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. We have already spoken about this. I say this very often in the past, but it keeps on recurring because it is a theme, it is an issue that is very difficult to assimilate. You know, the forefather of the Jewish people is Abraham. He rediscovered God. He realized that there must be a sovereign in this world, that there must be a creator. Maybe by looking at the stars, God knows what, he came to the conclusion there must be unity of purpose in this universe, in this world that surrounds us. And one of his major preoccupations was, of course, to transmit this to future generations. He was mortal after all. So therefore, when his son Isaac, Yitzchak, was born, it was the happiest moment in his life. As the Torah tells us about the developments of this young boy, suddenly a parenthesis opens up. God says to Abraham, you know what? I want you to offer this son, this one, the one that you love so much, I want you to offer him as a sacrifice. The Torah says that Abraham gets up early in the morning and he goes. He goes with his son. He has some people accompanying him as well. He's going to go to Mount Moriah, Har HaMoriah, the same mountain where eventually the Beit HaMikdash is going to be built in the city of Jerusalem. It takes 3 days to get there. It is very difficult to imagine, but one can somehow identify with the tremendous problem, the tremendous moral obstacles that Abraham had to overcome in order to obey the mandate of God. How can this God that said, don't kill, suddenly ask him to offer his son as a sacrifice? It is true the Torah was not given as yet in the time of Abraham, but there were already what we call Sheva Mitzvot de Bnei Noach. These are 7 laws for all of humanity. These are the basis of morality. Without the Torah, without Shabbat, without Brit Milah, without Kashrut, without many of the laws that we have today for the Jewish people. One of those 7 principles was, don't kill. So how is it that God asks him to offer his son? Imagine what must have gone through the heart and mind of Abraham. How he had to resolve such tremendous conflicts that are really impossible to resolve. But his faith in God was such that if God told him to do something, he had to do it. That was the most important moral imperative. Finally, Abraham convinces himself that he has to do it. He ties his son on an altar. He's about to sacrifice him. Suddenly he hears the voice of an angel. Don't do it. You are only being put to a test. Now ata yadati ki yirei Elokim at. Now I know that you are fearful of God. Well, tremendous episode, very difficult to assimilate. The Rebbe of Kotsk, a very famous and sharp-minded rabbinic leader, says the following. The angel of God told him after he untied his son, now I know that you are fearful of God. It should have been before. While Isaac was still on the altar, he should have said, now I know that you are fearful of God. This seems like to be an anticlimax. So the Rebbe of Kotsk says, you know, the real test was to untie him. Because after all the intellectual arguments that were very difficult to elaborate, finally Abraham is able to convince himself to do what God tells him to do. Suddenly, tells him don't do it. In other words, all the arguments, whatever I did for 3 days to convince myself that I should do what God do, that is not right. It's very difficult to accept that. So he says that was really the test that Abraham was put, that when he was told, don't do it, even though he had for 3 days used all his emotional and intellectual powers to do what God did him, he stopped from doing it. And I was thinking to myself, you know, actually, this is what happens to us. You know, when we make a mistake, when we don't behave the way we should, Well, we have tremendous mechanisms, emotional, psychological, and whatnot, to excuse our behavior. We tell ourselves, why didn't you give the man a loan? Well, you need it for your family. You try to reason somehow that you are behaving the correct way, even though you're not doing it. If somebody extends his hand and you have to give him something, well, you can't find the money in your pocket. Your friend calls you, he needs you. And you say, well, I can't at this moment because I'm busy with something else. You don't go to see your child perform in school because you're busy with a meeting. You reason that it's most important. You have to feed your family. You have certain responsibilities. And suddenly comes Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and tells you, you know what? Maybe many of the things that you have done in the year that is past, that you justified in your mind, really shouldn't be so. And it's very difficult to admit that what we did is not right. So this is what Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is. You have to have sufficient moral and spiritual force to tell yourself, notwithstanding all my reasoning that justified certain types of behavior, deep down I know that I wasn't right and I really should correct them. I think that if you do that in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, you become a better human being. You become a better father. You are a more loyal friend. You're a more devoted spouse if you're able to overcome these justifications that somehow you built in order to protect yourself. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur says, take away all these shades of reasonings that deep down are not right, and you will see that you will be a better human being in the year that follows.